It's 9 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation. Justice for all.
Look at the approval of the agenda that was submitted and.
There is one addition, it's to the consent agenda, and it's to approve assignment and assumption of ground lease form. This is because there's a new owner at the airport, or someone new taking over a lease at the airport, and this is just for them to take over the current one, like we kind of discussed at some of the work group.
So just a transfer of ownership.
It's all, yeah.
Transfer of the lease.
Here's all the paperwork of it right here.
Oh. Okay,
I just, first I saw it. Was this emailed, you know? It probably was.
It wasn't emailed that I'm aware of.
okay. So that'll be added to the consent agenda,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with that addition.
the amendment. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Carried. Minutes of the previous board meeting, 25th.
Make a motion, we approve.
Is there a second?
A second.
Discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Carried. Next is open time for public comment. Public comment, doesn't appear to be anybody in the audience. Moving on to appointments, there's none. Consent agenda, we have two items on that. The addition that was just given to us. Be pretty straightforward to me.
Move to approve.
Make a motion, is there a second?
Yep.
Yep, okay. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say nay. Carried. Number one on the action items, consider approving the 2022 feedlot program annual report and financial report. Feel it.
Good morning. So I'm here again to get approval on our 2022 CFO annual report for all the work that was completed. So every year our work is dictated by a delegation agreement that we signed with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency on a biannual basis. So I think we'll be coming back this fall with a new one. But the basis of that program is that we inspect 7% of our feedlots every year. That is a requirement that we met then, which you can see in the report. Aside from that, you get points for submitting paperwork properly, emergency response, complaint response, outreach and education and things. So in 2022, there was not a lot of permitting or anything. And so a lot of our extra points came from just training and really an emergency response. Is there any questions?
Do you get points for inspections too, or no?
No, because that is
It's just-
kind of the basis of the program, yeah. You do, I should say, you get points for anything over and above our minimum.
Okay.
So I think we got a couple points for extra inspections.
Minimum inspections is how many?
We were in 2022, we were using old numbers, and so it was 25 a year.
25 a year.
Yep, and then that actually will be dropping a little bit this year. I think down to 23.
I'll make a motion to approve the feedback program and report.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried. Good, thank you.
Thank you. If you could stop and sign this afterwards, I'd appreciate that. Do we?
Stop by.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
okay, number two, consider awarding paving bid from Dunn Blacktopping for County State Aid 16. Is SP 028-616-006. Hyphenated SP. 028-070-010. All those numbers, Brian, means the work to get done.
Can I, before Brian starts. Sheriff, are you here about that boat supplemental safety thing? I am. You get to it before I became?
Yes, yeah, we approved it.
So you don't have to sit for the whole meeting if you don't want.
I think you want to enjoy it. Thank you. Okay, Brian.
Okay. Yep, so this is the paving project on County State Highway 16 from Spring Grove, or the south limit to Spring Grove down to the Iowa state line. We opened bids here a few weeks ago. We're ready to recommend awarding the project to Dunn Blacktop today. It was the one and only bidder that we received. Bid was $1,288,763.79. The estimate was $1,762,529.65. So the bid did come in about 4.5% over the estimate, based on bid results I'm seeing around the state, overall, or around southeast Minnesota overall. We got a fairly decent bid, so recommend approval. The reason why we have two project numbers on this one is because we have the main funding is for paving the center 24-foot for the 2 12-foot lanes, and then the second number is to pave 2-foot shoulders out there. So we have safety money for that. So it's two projects tied together into one for a wider paved surface.
Is that kind of for a bike lane perhaps? Is that kind of, or just a safety buffer?
Just for safety.
It'll be 10 feet wide. That's
So it'll be the total pavement width will be 28 foot. So it'll be 12-foot lanes, 2-foot paved shoulders on each side
versus 24.
versus 24. Yeah.
Is there any major repairs along that road that you gotta do, like?
We did. We replaced several culverts last year, I think 5 or 6 of them. And then a little bit with some slopes, but it was pretty minor overall.
So how do you open it up? See what's up.
Does that include shouldering too? Like put the gravel down, or?
Yep, this will be the gravel go back on the shoulders outside of that pavement, the extra 1 or 2 feet.
Well, Dunn does that too?
Yep.
Can't get no other bidders on them, shots?
Paving job.
Matthew owns everybody.
It is everything, so.
We can go to concrete.
Oh,
Concrete.
it's done, it's done.
Yep.
There's division.
Yeah, you can go to concrete to get 3 to 5 bidders, but there's in order to do those projects, you need to have a wider paved shoulder to get the equipment on it and stuff. And most of our roadways just doesn't quite pan out for us.
I'll make a motion that we approve that blacktopping on County 16.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Carried. Number 3, consider awarding bid for airport taxi lane project to NATO Companies LLC for $283,601, contingent upon issuance of federal and or state grant.
Yeah, so we bid the taxi lane project. So this is would go to the south of the existing parking lot bathroom area. We had 2 bidders. Low bid was Nadu Companies, $283,601. Engineer's estimate was $379,057.52. So the low bid was pretty substantially under the estimate. We did some background checking on Nadu because we haven't used them before. So they do a lot of work in the Rochester area. They do a lot of work with Dunn Blacktop. Actually called to ask what the bid results were. They do a lot of work with them. Bolton and Minks use them over in Rochester area. They do really good work. So I recommend approving this with the contingent upon issuance of the federal and state grants. The FAA anticipates, they said they are ready to issue a grant as soon as federal fiscal year 2024 starts on July 1st. So they anticipate us having the grant issued within 2 weeks of that, so about mid-July. And then they do anticipate starting work within 2 weeks of that, so right around August 1st start date.
What all does this entail?
It'll be stripping the topsoil, they're putting some fill in, so they're hauling in some sand, putting down the new taxi lanes, so there's 12 inches of rock and the paving on top of that. And then putting the topsoil back down. While
This
they be
doesn't
paving
include-
too.
This doesn't include taxi lane running parallel to the runway. This is just from the parking lot into the new hangar, potential new hangar.
It'll start a taxi lane essentially from right at the just south of the fuel island. It's gonna go parallel to the runway, then it turns to the west to go, and then the two side spurs. So it ends up kind of a
Right.
shape, yeah. So it'll have the two lines going in that has the for the future hangars. And then so there'll be the spot for the hangars in between the two lanes, then also the spot on the west side of the second lane, or whether it's county built hangars or lease out the land for privately built.
Taxiway only goes as far as where you turn to go into the hangar. There is no taxiway the length of the run.
Not the full include runway, no.
But then it's gonna carve out lanes in the new area.
Yep, yep.
But you're not gonna pave where the future hangars are gonna be.
It'll pave the two lanes.
It'll pave
Right.
the lanes, but not, cause that might be concrete or. You know what I'm saying?
For the hangars,
actual
the
hangars.
hangars
it's-
themselves. No, because yeah, they'd have to put in the footings for the hangars and everything else first, so. Yep, so it'll be just the lanes themselves.
So. It says here that the federal would do 327. This is an estimate, right?
So that federal cost includes, that includes the design. Everything that's been done to date on the design, the bidding side that we've had Bolton do for us, inspection costs, the surveying, everything that's associated build it. So it's more than just they do's expenses associated with the project, which add in all the engineering and inspection, all that work.
The bottom line, our local will be 18,080.
Correct.
The Bolton Mink group are satisfied with this bidder.
Yes,
Well, the curiosity, like moving soil out there, do they keep that or is that ours?
it is ours. So I had them put into the bid that they're gonna stockpile the topsoil. They'll put the topsoil back on to get to the. Can't remember if this is 4 inches or 6 inches going back on the ground. The remainder stays stockpiled for us to use how we wish.
Okay. Well, all that said, and since he came in under engineer estimate, which is unusual. I'll make a motion to approve the airport taxi lane project being awarded to Navy Companies LLC in the amount of $283,601, $283,601, contingent on the issuance of the federal and state.
Very good, thank you, Bev. Is there a second? I'll second it. Discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, say nay. Carried. Number 4. Consider approving a price increase of a Bobcat excavator was originally approved on February 28, 2022. Price has now increased from 177, 161.20 to 186, 248.02. This is a $9,086.82 increase. The 2022 quote also included a trade-in of $45,000. Trade-in value has now been reduced to $37,500. Actually, the purchase price would go from $132,161.20 to 148,748.02. I'm sure you folks got all those numbers.
Well, I don't need to present this one because you read it all. Yeah, so same thing we've had kind of before with other equipment or with the trucks recently is that historically, when equipment prices increase, the manufacturer would kind of eat any increase in cost. You get maybe the newer model if it was into the next model year. That kind of changed once COVID hit here a couple of years ago, and now the manufacturers, when they don't get the equipment to you, they come back and they say, well, the new state bid price has increased. So in order to get that equipment, you're gonna need to pay us the new price. So we have been told that the new unit is in the United States. It's someplace, can't remember where exactly it is, but it's down on the east coast or southeast coast of the US at this time. They just need to get it shipped up here to get it delivered to us. So we're told we'll have it in May. So after we got this notice from Bobcat on the price increase and also reduction of the trade value, we did a couple of things. One is that we pushed them hard on trying to get them to honor the old trade value or the old price. They wouldn't agree to that. We also went to another supplier and got a price for a different unit from another manufacturer. That was $50,000 higher than what this unit is after this price increase. And there would also be a 9 to 12 month delay if we switched over to a different option. Trade and value from the other sub manufacturer, they offered 38,000. Previous year they offered 45,000, so they lowered the trade in value as well. We looked at Equipment Trader, other online magazines and sources for what the existing unit that we have for the 2008 John Deere loader excavator is, or loader backhoe. A lot of the stuff online shows that that the units are being asking price for $42,000 to $50,000 of the asking of the unit that we have. Speaking with the one company, they said a lot of the auction prices are going, into that $37,000 to $40,000 for our unit. They look at the actual VIN number. So kind of have, a couple issues here is, we can approve the excavator with the increased price and the decrease on the trade, or we can approve the excavator with the increased price and keep the trade unit and sell it outright through an online auction or something else. We might come out a little bit ahead, have potential to go down and get a little bit less than 37.5. Or we could not do anything, but my recommendation is to improve the updated quote with the price increase and to approve it with the reduced trade-in value.
How old is the machine that we're trading in?
2008.
$1,000?
A little bit under about 3,000. So it's not a ton of hours. The new unit is it's a full-blown excavator, where the current one is a tractor loader. Yep. So we have the bucket and so we have a much more capabilities with the tracks on this unit, and bigger bucket to it, just easier to dig.
There's a track, not a wheel.
This is a track machine. The current machine is wheel.
This is part of the budget.
The original one was in the budget. This price increases changes will ultimately be either fund balance, or if we can underrun some items this year, that's what we'll try to do is, get it within our actually fund balance.
Feeling on the board.
Curiosity with regard to the track versus the wheel. The wheel gets around easier as far as point A to point B on a project site. The track beneficial because it's more stable, or
Yeah,
is
so
a wheel not available?
no, wheels are better when you're working off the roadways, when you're working off soils, or you're trying to get up and down slopes and get off into that more rugged terrain. Than the tracks come better that way. Some of the locations with the wheel loaders, you just can't get down and in there. Where the track, there's no issues with getting around, so it's a lot easier to get around that. So it kind of comes down to where you're going to use it. And we'd like to be able to use this more off-road, and we still have our other bucket excavator loader to still do some stuff on pavement when we need it. We just have one of that machine instead of two once we get this new one.
37,500, I think that's fair trade.
I do. I mean, it's from what we're hearing, Bobcat's probably not going to make a ton off it. At first, we thought we might be able to get 60,000 for a unit if we sold it outright, and then we keep it, try to sell it, maybe potential to lose a few thousand and gain 20. What we're seeing though, even if we tried to sell it ourselves, we might gain a little bit, but not substantial. We're just trading it in, and we don't have that risk of not getting some bids on it.
So how many do we have of those?
Two.
So we'll be down to one.
We'll be down to one of the,
What years ago?
it's in 2008 as well.
Same hours probably.
The other one might be slightly less hours. I didn't look at the hours on that one.
You're keeping a track.
Yeah, we're keeping rubber, and then we'll gain the track.
One thing that upsets me about this whole deal is price increase for one, and then they backtrack on the trade-in.
That's the part that really got us, is that we
That
thought,
rubs me the wrong way. I've been talking to Brian.
Changing numbers.
So original contract don't mean nothing anymore, does it?
The other thing that concerns me too, and I brought it up with Brian, but he feels comfortable with it, but not to put words in your mouth. The fact that it's a Bobcat. And this is they're new into this size. It's because it's one of the biggest ones they make. I think they have one bigger one than that. And so this is new to them. And so I worry about serviceability, reliability, if they're gonna get the bugs out of it, versus another brand like John Deere where you got support. It's a quality of machine I think is a little better. But is it $50,000 more better? So I asked about if you could swing it with for budgetary reasons and make it a little tougher. I mean, he's already going to have to use fund balance.
So the next closest price for the same size excavator would be about
yes,
that trade-in was the same.
yes.
So
Yeah, they're trading with
$500.
38,000 versus 37,500.
But we're getting a machine that this is something new to them that they're just getting into. And
Yeah, this machine's been around since 2019, so this is only into its fourth year.
No,
been around 2019, but they ain't made a lot of them because you can't get them.
this through the dealer in Dresbach, or is this through where's the dealer that rides?
Yep, so the delivering dealer is Dresbach. Although the actual order is placed through the state bid contractor, which is Wells Fargo, North Dakota,
That was right.
or west farther. Well, delivering dealer is Dresbach, but it's actually going to Rochester through Wells Fargo, North Dakota. So it's like 3 dealers involved with this whole order.
So who's gonna be
The official delivering dealer on here is Dresbach.
who's gonna be the service?
I think service is going to primarily be Rochester, probably more than Dresbach, just because Dresbach hasn't, got into this bigger equipment yet. So it might be more Rochester, which is where we go with our John Deere's and stuff a lot of times as well. Whatever can be done at Dresbach, whatever we get for parts from them, we will. But until they start using, getting some of these bigger ones out of Dredge Park, it might go Rochester.
Should be.
Hopefully it's pretty minimal. You have warranty stuff that'll be, associated with it initially, so.
What is the one? 6 months or?
2 year, 2,000 hours.
You got 3,000 hours on a 14-year-old machine, so. 2 years, you should have most of the bugs out of it.
Hopefully.
When you guys looked into this, you tried them.
Yep. So we got both this unit down. We got a John Deere down. I think it was just the 2 different units we got down. This was sitting along the roadway over on County 16 for a while, or County 4 for a while, and then it got moved over into a ditch. I can't remember what the other road was, but yeah. So we did try this unit out for a couple days. 4 different guys tried it. Our current maintenance supervisor, previous maintenance supervisor, and then 2 employees that would be in this the most. They all 4 of them liked this unit better than what they liked the John Deere. They thought it had a real good feel. They thought it had a lot of power. They really liked it when they tried it. So the biggest thing really does come down to just overall the service and the reliability of how is it going to hold up versus a machine that's been $50,000 more on. Now this is based on I believe it's the Hyundai platform for the original basis is essentially built up on. So it's not like it's totally from scratch. They use other components, but it definitely would have some of its own as of 4 years ago.
Bobcat, I refer to being from North Dakota, but now it's coming from overseas and everything like everything else. Started out.
Got that new fancy engine in it too with all the emissions on it.
Yeah, I believe all the larger equipment all has the emission stuff on it.
We've got much of a choice, do we? Well, you want to spend more money or not spend any money.
It's something that's gonna be needed. We got a 14-year-old machine that's doing good now so far, but that's got a couple thousand hours, maybe 3,000. So we're gonna start waiting, and then prices continue to go up, or do we bite the bullet now?
Well, if one of them other ones break down, that $10,000 don't go very far.
Well,
That's my theory.
so. Yes,
Well, we could buy it straight out. Did you ever negotiate a straight out price? That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean that's what the price is. So the straight out is the 186, $248.02 if we don't do the trade. We can't get that price down from that.
Because that alludes to what you said, we take a risk and then we don't get 37.5 when we go out to sell. But we could get.
And if you don't, you could just keep it. You use it. But if you don't need it, well,
But we ask.
2-wheeled.
I definitely have staff that would say, you know what, doesn't hurt to have one more.
I don't know.
How many operators do we have?
And we have a lot of guys that we have, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of guys that could operate it. What the issue becomes, it's not just the one operator sitting in the bucket digging a hole. You have all the other guys that are associated doing other stuff at the same time. So do we need to have, 3 machines at the same time, out there in the field digging? No. If you had a 3rd machine, maybe you don't need to truck the one unit from here to north of Houston if you have one already sitting up in Houston. So you save a little bit of trucking, but as far as operators, they can use them all at the same time. We're not going to be using more than 2 anyway.
You've been researching this. Have you looked at similar pieces of equipment and what they're selling for on the market?
For the Bobcat, this new unit.
No. For our unit, if we buy it outright, and take the chance and sell it ourselves. We've been
Yep.
selling it at
Yep, so-
37.5, or do they sell for more?
So a lot of the list price is 42 to 50. So it does kind of vary in there, but that's list. And when you start making those phone calls on what they're actually selling for, we're hearing they're not actually selling for a whole lot more than what we're being offered on the trade.
What's your cost to sell at 6%?
It goes 8%, or I believe if you do min bid, it goes 10%, but it goes onto the buyer, not the seller. So if they're paying, 10% on top of the 37.5, then it'll cost them,
10% buyers.
Yeah.
Not seller.
yep, it's buyer's fee.
No seller fee then?
No seller.
But if you had another 10%, then that puts that at 41,000. So just break even on, that what that buyer's paying for.
The only good thing is it's pretty well. Really good machine.
And
Yep.
usually when
And-
contractors look at equipment, they know it's county owned, they know it's low hour. And maintained and not used too bad.
Yep, and we were looking at some of the ones, I think there's a 2007 with 3,000 hours being, that's out there for 45,000 right now on the asking price.
Still being asked, oh, that's not sold yet,
Correct.
but we could do okay. As long as that's a buyer's fee, not a seller's fee on that particular site.
Not too many people around here are gonna buy that kind of a rig anymore, not too many in business.
That's why it goes on to statewide, there's nationwide, but the statewide auction house we've been using is one that's been doing really good.
Online bidding, it could go to all over the world. It's crazy.
Want to gamble or not? How's it? When I gamble.
I'm not seeing it likes you, huh? So I guess we're at a choice, either not buy, pay full price, or do the trade-in with a discount price.
I don't think it's gonna get any cheaper.
That's correct.
If we wait longer, think around with it, it isn't gonna get any cheaper. Like I said, I'm not a big one to gamble. As far as the taxpayers' dollars are concerned, so I will make a motion that we acquire the new Bobcat backhoe, track backhoe. By using our existing backhoe as trade for a net price of $148,748.02.
148. Said that one, okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Discussion. One of those deals that, dang if we're doing, dang if we don't. Being no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can say one quick update with the board, now that the river is going down, just a quick update on Wildcat. So as of right now, my maintenance supervisor and myself went down there yesterday afternoon. Water's coming down. We expect to get in there, start doing some cleanup work tomorrow and Thursday. If all goes as planned, we can get campers start hauling in their campers on Thursday evening. We won't have the water test results back till Friday morning, late morning is my guess. To know if we have water that's safe to drink and to use, so we have to get the bathrooms shut down, no drinking water until probably at least noon on Friday. If it's a failing test, it'll be into next week. But as of this moment, we haven't seen any real damage down there, just some debris to clean up, but nothing major. Area they expect that possibly had the most damage along the shoreline, we won't know that for probably a week or more on if we have damage there. But as of right now, everything's looking really good. I've been in contact with Amber Miller and Steve Getzinger, so they're ready to get that campground open up right away too. So hopefully it can be open in a few days.
Pictures that were sent out by you and Brian, or is just, there's a lot of water down there, and I'm thinking about those shelters.
Will they stay there?
They got undermined underneath the slabs and all that kind of stuff. Turbulent unknowns until we get back to some lower levels, I guess.
Yep, that middle shelter is the one that I'm the most worried about. That's the one that in the past has all the sand in front of it's been sucked away. We've had from that concrete slab vertical drop down 8+ feet in the past. So we're hoping that's not the case this time, but when that shoreline starts to go, it's all sand and it just gets sucked out.
Talk
So
about that original one, that old yellow one.
the yes. Yep. So depending on that, once we get to Thursday, we might need to put up some caution tape or something to keep people away from the areas that we just don't know until we get a better view. We've had other years where water goes down, you have 2 feet of sand sitting on top of that concrete as well. So we're going to either gain sand or lose it. We just don't know which way it's going to be.
Either it comes in or goes out. It's up to play the same.
But overall, all the campsites are now above water, with the exception of a couple of the tent sites. So all the camper sites, the electric sites are all up. No minor erosion, not a couple of them, but most of them have no real issue at all. Some of them have some sediment on the surface, but nothing that's drastic. So
Even in the weekend area there. I call it the south.
yeah. Yep, so it's all looking pretty good. So yeah, so if you really wanted to drive down there, there's barricades across the road now, but there's down a couple inches of water over the roadway and
Supposed to drop some more today.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the update.
One other question.
Yep.
Okay.
With regard to the west park,
yes.
contractor said that it starts in June. And thought it would only take how long?
Initially, they were hoping to get it all done in June. Now after the pre-construction meeting, as we're talking about some of the coordination efforts. So he's talking about starting in the first or second week in June. There's a gas line that probably isn't going to be abandoned until second or possibly even the third week in June. That's right underneath the pavement on the loop road in front. So that could slow the start date down by maybe a week. There's some other coordination efforts, and then we don't know on the paving timing. So kind of saying, to be safe at this point, figure a June 1st start date and end of July finish. So maybe plan on 8 weeks.
More realistic. Oh.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay, next will be. We discussed and possibly approve ARPA fund distribution, including possibility of using ARPA funds to match. For a Minnesota housing program grant called Community Homeowner Impact Fund. We talked about information on that, so. Do we have any more information on that? Carol, if you want to come up so we can.
I mean, I did email you the information on
Yeah.
the grant, so.
That was the $20,000 that you're talking.
Yeah, be matched, right? I
And that's
see
the
it
only thing.
as something positive.
So we submit, we give them 20,000 and we'll get what?
Well, basically, you don't have to get 20,000 unless the grant is actually awarded.
Right. It's just,
And I talked to Cindy and it sounds like she's open to kind of whatever percentage of a match, but typically you'd go for 20%, which would only get you 100,000. Which I still think is a good deal. But she said if you wanted to do the 20,000 for 200,000, she'd be open to applying for that too. I don't know if that's what she told you, Bob.
Basically,
I mean, it depends on how competitive you want to be. And the higher percentage of a match you do, the more competitive the grant will be.
we gotta look at the. Realistically, what's $100,000? With that, could you do
Well, like
several homes with that?
with SCDP, our cap per house, and I'm not sure what her cap is in. I brought some notes, but not on like the one she's doing in Albert Lee. But for SCDP, our cap is 25,000. But not every home uses the full 25,000. And it's usually used for improvements like, and this grant would be the same, re-roofing, electrical updates, updates, radon mitigation, interior water line upgrades, windows, doors, siding, accessibility improvements, repairs to existing water service lines, sanitary sewer service lines, and replacement of mechanical systems. So my guess is she would give it at a dollar amount per household.
First
and
come, first serve.
typically first come, first serve, I would assume would be the way she would do it for qualifying applicants. And some applicants will say like, I just want a walk-in shower, and they'll just want that one thing, but then, you know, some will try to use the whole amount and get multiple things done.
With the understanding that in this particular grant, it's a 30-year or less grant. That you get the money, at the end of 30 years, you pay it back. Or if you sell the house within that 30-year period, if you want to estate or whatever, it pays the grant back. It's not a,
So the person utilizes this, and they sell it 10 years down the road, they gotta pay it back.
So loan type of thing, grants,
so it's a loan type of a grant.
It's a deferred loan.
Yeah.
So
So
a
even
lot,
after 30 years, they have to pay it back?
That's the way I understand.
I'm not sure if
I'm
they
not-
have to pay it back or not, but like with the small cities grant, which is sort of similar. You know, if a homeowner does decide to sell, a lot of times with the updates that they do, they can get those costs when they sell. They can usually sell their home for more with the updates that they do. So usually it isn't an issue.
But usually there's sunlight, sunset on 30 years. I would say 5 or 10. I know it's for like.
Yeah, I did send that
first-time
Albert
home buyers
Lee
is
example,
5
and it should
years.
say in there what their terms were. She's planning on doing something.
So the
similar
small
here.
cities ones that like the Caledonia got, they have to pay it back after a certain number of
No,
years?
after 7
Oh,
years,
yeah.
it's completely forgiven.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is-
And I have in
This
my,
isn't like that.
I don't know, I have in my notes that it's an interest-free deferred loan. We'd have to double check with Cindy on if they,
Deferred is the key word.
Pay it back.
Deferred until you sell it or at the end of 30.
Okay,
so it's a loan that. We
that
need
you don't pay on until you sell it.
do you have that email that I CC'd you on?
We need to have that, so
I have
folks understand it.
The Albert Lee
Well,
one
whoever
attached.
goes through.
But she hasn't actually
Utilization
applied
to
for
get
this
the
grant
loan.
yet.
No,
Articulate.
Right. I like the idea of helping and getting some improvements on homes, but I want to make sure that we are involved to a point that's economical too.
Personally, I would just assume do a $200,000 application,
That I can,
10% participation.
one that I can understand. How far it is $200,000.
Lot farther than $100,000.
This is strictly an application, we're at.
Yeah.
right, so if you decide today that you would use ARPA dollars for a match, then we can let Cindy know and she can start the application, and if awarded, that's when the money would go. If she doesn't get awarded, she won't take the 20,000, obviously.
And for clarification, Carol, what's our balance along the ARPA funds, so we can't keep taking a little bit over. Where are we at now exactly, or roughly, very close.
That's a good question.
I think we had some little bit of room.
Yeah.
At the end there. I think it's not bad. So,
And as far as the childcare goes, we're gonna meet with Ginny from WDI on Wednesday about a possible pilot program that we could maybe use to go towards childcare. But I mean, that, we don't have a set amount that we need for that, so you could potentially take the 20,000.
So,
it says here, at the
So,
bottom
my-
line, we had $318.
yeah. Yep.
After all.
So my question is, when people start having to pay this back and it's ARPA funding,
Where's it go?
what do we have to do with that?
We have a choice. We can require that the money comes back to us, or it's a participation, we're done.
And we just,
When they pay the $200,000 back,
Okay.
however it is, back to this organization.
It might be a revolving thing too, wouldn't it?
Well, if people have to pay it back, I would assume it's revolving, but I guess I'm not
Mhm.
positive on if they have to pay it back or not. But yeah, you could do a one and done as far as the match. That's what we do with SCDP. The city matches usually like one project, which would be $25,000. And then if that particular project does get paid back, it just gets recycled. It doesn't ever come back to the
to the
city.
city,
The city agrees to just
not that I'm gonna have to
donate.
worry
You
about
don't
30
have to
years
keep
from now.
You're not gonna have to worry about
No, 30 years.
We don't want. Neither will I.
All would have to
You gotta
do
worry
is,
about that. There's
you know,
some-
cut the check for the 20,000 and then it would be over as far as, I mean, the county, as far as. the
Yeah,
county.
so. This would be only upon the grant being awarded.
Right.
Right, and I don't know the date, the award date off the top of my head.
Applications are due fairly soon, so we would know. Sometime during 2023 that. It's either
Okay.
approved or not.
I mean, with SCDP, it's like a year process, so I don't know how long it would be. And they get behind, but we could at least say this was what you intended to do with it.
I'm fine with that.
It'd be before 2026, that would go out.
So, we're good forward.
Want to do 120? 20,000 for $200,000. Or $200,000. That'll be my motion.
Second it.
$20,000 from ARPA. Towards the $200,000 project.
Eric, second.
And payment contingent upon grant
Contingent
award.
upon approval of the grant application.
We've got a motion and made and seconded, discussion by any? There being none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carry.
Anything else you want to tell us about ARPA?
You know, I had to submit the report of expenditures and awards through March 31st by April 30th.
Pretty straightforward.
Mhm. Yep, so.
So,
So when you look at the. Arguing that's going on in Washington DC. The legislature talking about going after COVID dollars that haven't yet been spent to give them back to them. Would the unspent, unallocated ARPA dollars be subject to that? Give it back.
Thank you.
Well, I
Talking
don't,
about the CARES dollar.
yeah,
Just
I
the
think,
CARES dollars, the ARPA wouldn't be part of that.
yeah, because ARPA is extended out to 2026,
I think that's just CARES dollars.
so I think it's the CARES money and we spent that. We spent all that.
I read that they're after. Because the COVID ARPA did have something to do with it.
No,
or carry.
Well, I
Changed
guess
all
that-
because
no,
Do some checking.
no, it's just more spending. CARES had to do with COVID.
Well, you know, if they hadn't spent CARES money, I think it was supposed to be returned by now
Right.
and maybe.
And I
people
think that's what
haven't
they're
been.
getting at is this, because some counties and cities, well, I don't know about that, but some did return money.
Mhm.
And I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
There's a few programs like at the state level, like for example, there's a broadband program that the SCDP department that I work with manages, and CETA has a few of the projects open. Those projects are really behind, but it was using CARES money. So they did offer an extension on those until like March of 2024 now. But so I think that's what they're running into, like some of the projects that they're using CARES money on, you know, there's labor shortages and there's delay in getting product, so some projects are behind. So some are in favor of extending the deadline, some are like, no, just give it back, you're not gonna get it done. So I think that's what they're debating. Not gonna change their mind on the 2026 for ARPA, because you know, people have
Yeah,
that planned
so-
already.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Well, never say
No.
never.
Yeah, who knows?
They can make the rules as they wish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
they're changing.
think we're gonna get more monies.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, did we vote on that already? Okay, yep, yeah, we did, okay. Moving on to, updates here. I haven't had any meetings or anything since last Tuesday myself, so. On to Eric, what do you have anything exciting?
Well, you guys got the email from Sam on that resolution, Second Amendment resolution, and curious what you guys' thoughts were on this recommendation.
Well. I just assume not. Oh,
That's fine, I just wanted to see what you guys thought.
Saying we support the Second Amendment. It's fine, but I don't wanna put any restrictions that we're not going to. We're not going to. Provide protection. We're not gonna enforce. Any new legislation as far as restricting. Be it guns or. The way they. You know. Background checks, time when you can buy it, how long you gotta wait to buy it. If they put some new restrictions on as far as background checks, waiting time. I'm not against that. Personally. Got lots of guns, I love to hunt, but. You look at all the shootings that are going on. I personally think there's a need for some of these restrictions.
any other thoughts for your? You had a question?
Yeah, no, that's fine, I just like to get a feeling of the board so I can tell those people that. What? That's it.
It's, I think the pick and choose of what we're gonna enforce and not enforce is what. My feeling is. You got the floor yet?
There's something else I was gonna bring, now I forgot. Someone else can go until I think.
You got time?
Yeah. I know. Come back.
Okay. Robert.
Oh, I got it.
That's remember here all of a sudden. Go ahead, say it.
I'm so old, I'm not that old, I got it. But I had a couple phone calls from some farmers over in Pine Creek area, and I referred your number to them, to you, Bob, too. About that possible development of that farmland out there, yeah. And there's some concerns, of course, from them as farmers that they're taking up prime farmland for housing development, so. I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. It's something that it's in our comp plan that we discourage to develop prime soils for developing houses, housing development.
You know what that land is classified? Is it 1, 2, or 3?
There's like 27 acres of it that's considered protected farmland, state importance of protected farmland of the 44 or whatever. So, I mean, Bob, you had a meeting, you could probably talk about it too out there. So I'll refer to you on this, but I just wanted to mention that, bring it to the attention.
Let's talk to Tom.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's all.
all right, Robert.
Well, yesterday I had a Hiawatha Valley mental health meeting. And covered a lot of ground. They're looking at trying to raise wages in order to retain people for staffing, so they don't leave to go to other places. They're changing their policies as far as like, retirement planning and whatnot. They also are dealing with like Fillmore County changing their contract with them, doing more themselves without actually knowing what it's gonna cost them, so he's dealing with Fillmore County for that we are meeting with us. So otherwise, things are going fairly well as far as I know. With regard to the question I had for Brian, with regard to the west parking lot project and the parking lot over at St. Mary's. We had the initial report here a week ago that the contractor thought it would only be a couple of weeks, 3 weeks to do the west parking lot. Now we got a more realistic 2 months. The church would accept like $500 a month for the parking lot. So if it is a month, $500. If it goes to 2 months, $1,000 to rent the parking lot. From over there. I know it's not on the agenda, so we can't act on it today. But that's the way it would stand, $500 a month. Up to $1,000 for 2 months.
Put that on next week's agenda. Did we get that finalized?
No. Yeah, okay.
That could be added to next week's agenda.
I'm going to make a request.
All right, use what you do, okay? Sure, I think it's necessity to have that. Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that'll cover it.
Okay. Mr. Schultz,
So I was invited to the on-site visit out there on the Sextower property, the old Eden farm. We met with we had quite a crew there. We had everyone from the power companies to Dave Walter with River, Brian was there. 2 township board members were present as well. They did present a preliminary map to the kind of the group. Sounds like the stuff on the, I'll call it the south side of the creek is somewhat already been sold, the way I understand it. You know, well, it's property that kind of abuts the creek and the wetland to some of the other farm type property owners, but everything on the north side of the creek, he had 22 plots that he's proposing, ranging on the smaller side of 1 acre to one of them had, I believe, 60 acres with woods. There was concerns from the township about traffic during construction, whether the road will hold up or not. Whether they can put in, or the county can help with the zoning process of putting construction clauses or bond, performance bond, et cetera. So Martin is gonna work a little bit with our township clerk on that, some of that answer. I did get the same calls you're talking about, 2 of them from farmers out in that district that were concerned about, you know, losing prime crop land. I know Dave was doing a study of the soil. Did send an email out on that I think we'll find out a little bit more on our land use.
Yeah, I got a copy of that. I could forward that. Did you get it too?
I got it, yeah.
You get, okay.
I glanced at it a little bit the last night. There was question brought to him if he had a plan B. Told him no, that he only had the 22 lots or whatnot. Until he submits his
From what I understand, that
formal.
he's already in process of selling off 2 40s. Or 2 parcels that qualify for 1 house on each.
Yeah, there's some question on that, so yeah.
I don't know, this is what Mark told me, so then, you know. If that's already in the process, then he sells that, then those people are thinking they're just gonna be looking over at farmland, and no, they might be looking over a bunch of houses.
Right, there's a little bit of unknown.
Right.
The township did invite him to come to their next meeting. So I think there's gonna be some neighbors and
That's
folks
next week. isn't it?
next week, Monday. So yeah, there's a lot of questions, concerns. Till he gets his applications turned in the zoning. I think he's got a plan, but we haven't seen it. Right across the street from the golf course.
So across the street.
So if you're
Across the
seeing off on hole
township
number
road.
1 and you look to your right, the cornfield that everyone cuts their golf balls into.
That's the one.
That would be.
So, so how far away is it from city limits?
Oh,
4.5 miles, I
well,
suppose.
at least, I'm gonna say 5, but yeah, that's all. The golf.
Is there
course is-
something in our ordinances regarding the distance?
Yeah. It has to be within so maybe a mile or two from the city. This is,
They ain't gonna go on Mexican, so that we don't worry about that, but I mean,
As of now, they said no, but yeah, who knows?
they're gonna use, I shouldn't say. Because they own that golf course, the city owns the golf course.
Is it annexed to the city?
oh, yeah, he's-
It's city owned, but no,
It's not annexed, but it's
Not
city
annexed.
owned.
So you're talking, this runs parallel to the golf course
Mhm.
and continues across the road and out across the creek.
once you get to where,
Properties on both sides of the road.
Yep.
Well, on one side of the road is the golf.
yep, so it parallels the golf course. You get to where the greens are, the green is on
First
hole
green.
number 1. You drop into that ditch
Yep.
behind there. It would extend across the creek all the way up to where the other Eaton's property was. And literally backs up to my backyard.
But there's the land, if you continue west on Pine Creek Road. Past the hole number 1 green. Bob said, there's another big field there that has southern exposure properties. That goes all the way over to the county line.
Right,
That's
and-
part of the Eden Park.
From my understanding from his map, that stuff has all been sold to other neighbors that are gonna farm it. Yes,
That's gonna be farm, continued farm, okay,
correct.
like that map of the farm. But then the property across the creek.
Trying to stay away from the-
That was bought a long time ago.
See, and here's the
Yeah.
golf course right here.
So
And he-
everything-
And this is the township road that goes through
Yeah,
here.
we're talking-
He owns both sides of the road.
North of,
and this here.
north of North Pine Creek Road, what he wants to develop into the subdivision.
Nothing.
South of North Pine Creek Road is
This is
not
what-
at this point.
what-
Yeah, we can't build over here.
Everything on
He
Pine
can't
Creek
build on the bluff.
Road.
We can't build.
Creek, so.
This is
Refer-
what they-
Yeah.
Alright, so
So
here's
It's the
Well,
building site and
he's already
that
sold
cornfield
this
and the
place,
hill.
Put a house.
So we're just into the
This
preliminaries.
this separate, this 40.
This
The
is-
farmhouse has already been
The
sold,
real place.
Okay,
so, and the new owner's doing a lot of work there. So
well, they're gonna live there, I'm sure.
buildings are being tore down.
They're good buildings too, but anyway.
So, yeah, so
Keep us
that's,
posted.
that's coming down the pipeline, so we'll
Okay.
see what Martin. It ought to be interesting next Tuesday to see, because that'll be after the township meetings.
Well, You guys are having a meeting too, aren't you, Brian?
We're meeting today, but I don't know if we're gonna talk about this.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there definitely will be more.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, that was pretty much the highlight. That's the only one I had, so.
Greg,
Yeah, I had an airport meeting yesterday and that went pretty good, I think. Gonna getting that ironed out for that 2 acres that we wanna put on the easement. And then we had a zoning meeting on Thursday night, and then that went pretty good. There was a little debate on, I don't know, we gotta do something in our ordinance or what we gotta do there, but Mary Lou Graff was getting a permit to park a trailer too close to a feedlot. Okay, well then, the guy that owned the feedlot, if he wants to expand, he's gotta go get a variance from her house. And that's, they wanna try to eliminate that somehow. But that's pretty touchy. I mean, you can't just give somebody a variance and he says he wants to expand. Well, all of a sudden he's up to 2,500 pigs or something like that, way more pigs than land, and then you got a mess. So I don't know how you're gonna figure that one.
Yeah, this Mary Lou's, it's gonna be a place for her to live in and one of her kids are gonna move into the main house.
Yep.
Which is allowed,
Now, that's all allowed. It was just up to
yeah,
question.
but the fact, it just had to get a variance for the neighboring Sheehan's feedlot. which he was fine with, what I understand.
Well, but Ken Bisinger was the one that brought it up, that there should
Yeah.
be something done with that. That's a tough call.
It would be an issue. She wants to be here. In distance of the feedlot. If variance, okay, we'll do that. If he wants to expand the feedlot. Now there's a different variance because there's a residence that's. Already there,
And he could get a variance.
but he'd
do
have to
that.
go through,
He'd have to go through the
but the
board,
house is already there, so the trailer shouldn't change that, he'd have to go through either way.
possibly.
There was a trailer 20 years ago there too.
That's why we have a board of adjustment to do variances, to look at that stuff. I mean, you can't have a perfect system.
No.
You know, Ken likes to promote. Perfect ideal, that's impossible. So I don't know how you, like you said, Greg, I don't know how you remedy that. We can't deny Mary Lou to do what she wants to do, it's allowed, and it's for a family member, so.
Well, the only good thing is that Bill Sheehan did want to expand. He can't come towards her anyway. He's got to go the other way because the county highway is too close there. So he'd have to go away from her. if he-
So that would be, it might not be as
Might
bad
not be
as,
an issue then.
might not be an issue.
If he goes within 1,500 feet over the hill and puts up a barn, then he don't have to get a variance. Because he can't come any closer to her because the county highway is right below his house now. But I mean, he can't come this way, so he'd have to go away from her. And that's what they're gonna try to have. Martin was gonna look into something like that. And say, I mean, how do you regulate his variance then? You just can't give an open book variance.
Expand a little bit on what Greg mentioned on the airport. We get the agreement, 2 acres to take trees down. Buyer of the property is also considering removing some trees on his side, the other 4 acres. Wanted to know, when the county takes the trees down, we're gonna have to go through the airport. Between the hangars to get those trees and stuff. He wanted to know if he could do that at the same time, use the same access route to his trees as the county is using their trees. From my perspective, that's okay as long as it's doing it at the same time. He wants to wait 2 years. Once we're done taking trees out, that access. And makes sense to that's it.
Yeah, the issue with allowing landlord to go through that, it's been, the taxi lane is, primary purpose is planes and land has been paid for by FAA funds, so. They allow us to have a private access through the airport. And turn access on by.
All I'm saying is we're doing it and using that access way for ourselves. He could be able to use it at the same time. After we're done. He's done. Then he's gotta use his own access off the property.
So, who mows the lawn on the 2 acres? Who cuts the grass on that 2 acres? County?
We just want to use, take those trees down. Still is.
Yeah, but you're gonna still lease it, aren't you, to operate the airport?
This would be like an airspace
Lease,
easement, so we just have some rights to.
this airspace,
Up in the ground.
not the land, just the airspace.
Like, we're looking at maybe nothing. Maybe 10 feet at the lowest, so, shrubs, plants. If we wanted to apartment, all that stuff for the low lying crowd would all. Be able to do that, it's just airspace, and we're looking at what that actual height would be, whether it's 10 feet or maybe even higher, depending on if it's further.
That's why we asked the engineers. Take that 2 acres and give us like a 5-foot elevation change. If he wants to put up a shed, how tall can it be at his living point on? What other use, besides farming it, what other uses could he have on it? He needs to know what he can do on that 2 acres. All we're interested in is taking tall trees down. As far as the access way, but if he can build a 15-foot shed. Still underneath the restricted elevation. He needs to know where he can move it. But he's gonna mow it. He's gonna take it. For now. For what?
It's his land.
It's his.
Any other discussion?
So. At your planning commission meeting, TKDA showed up.
Yep.
On Zoom.
Really don't have a lot. I mean, they're working on stuff, but they're just kind of still putting everything together. And they didn't have a lot of information. They didn't go through any figures or anything. They just kind of said,
Well, it was the same presentation they gave us.
yeah, pretty much.
Greg was here though.
No, he wasn't.
Well, I wasn't here that day.
New for you.
That was new for you, yeah.
But the thing too is that they've now put it out that it's available for viewing online and so on, because I've seen that on.
Well, another good thing was they had the Board of Adjustment and the Planning Commission here and they all listened in and now they can put their input in now too. So that was a good deal. I thought it was a good idea. Yeah, the Planning Commission and the Board of Adjustment both there to listen. Now they can put their 2 cents worth in and keep moving.
Very good.
Do you want to report on the crop issue on the 7 acres that we got?
Yeah, I talked to Nick before and he called and he said he'll come and get a contract from the USDA up here after he gets his corn planted and come in and sit down with Brian and us and figure out his contract. He, last year he paid us $1,600 and some rent. He'd do the same again this year. No problems there. And he said if they would take out any of the crops, all he wants back is a little crop input. And that might be 1.5 acres, 2 acres, Brian, maybe.
We're hoping to be right around 2 acres.
So if we take in $1,600 rent, we have to give them back 600, we make 1,000.
That dollar amount would include taxes though, compared to 600 in taxes. So that's probably county.
Last year he didn't pay any of the taxes, he just paid you a straight fee of $201 an acre, I think, something like that. I'm not positive. He said it was a different contract than the one he had last year.
Last year there was no
Wasn't it?
second. So the current one giving the tax space identical to for as far as the basic terms.
Like nobody can hear that. So we pay taxes on that until we put it to use. Is that how it works?
If we do not, please come up there.
Yeah, you're good.
We can hear you better.
So it's recorded.
Yeah, for land that the county owns that does not get leased out for farming or some other use, there is no taxes paid on it. For land that we lease out, there is taxes paid. So that's kind of the
Leave that
difference.
over by the high school.
Tax, yeah, so Bergs and a lot of the stuff, when you look at what counties do when they lease out, usually it's the value of the lease plus the lease. Pays the taxes on that. So like the Jim Berg lease is $126 per acre plus taxes. So that is, what we put in the lease agreement here with Nick Hoshite. I guess we didn't talk about taxes. Maybe we should have brought that up at the board meeting last time but that is kind of how we put this new lease agreement that was provided to Nick and hasn't been signed yet. We might have some more conversations maybe needed on that front.
We get $125 an acre.
125 or 126 per acre is what it is for Bergs. I don't
How much an acre for taxes?
believe it was roughly $75 an acre last year. The total on this parcel was $586 total. And the parcel size was 7.9 acres. 6.9 acres at his field. There's about 1 acre that's used to be in CRP.
So that's where you get that $200.
Yep, that's where the 200 comes in, then 125 plus the 75, it's 2. So that's really about the same thing, about the same amount of money.
So that's what he's expecting to pay, and then we disrupt $200 he wants, for 2 acres, he wants the
Property.
cost,
Then you might not have-
the planting cost.
Yeah.
Not the
It's the
value of
plant.
the crop.
No, just planting, whatever costs, was it? Oh, $75 to spray, what's $100 for seed? I don't have to ask Eric, he knows more about that stuff.
Yeah, if it's corn, it'll be quite a bit.
It's gonna be soybeans.
Beans won't be quite as much, but probably 300 or so an acre or more or something.
So if we're making
Awesome.
125 an acre and we're paying 300 an acre, 3 acres of, or 2.5 acres of lease to pay an acre worth of crop damage.
If you get more
2.5
than
acres of
125, you're getting 200 with taxes.
taxes, but the taxes don't come to the county. The county gets that 125.
And what he's saying is he's paying 126 plus tax.
Oh, he would be paying, yes.
And the county gets the taxes, it's just. Really on it.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that the county gets, how much goes to the state and the other. Because some of it goes to the school and the state and the township.
Well, nobody-
You know,
40% of it goes to the county, roughly. In other words, if we have to pay them $300 an acre, the net is not gonna be a great deal.
Let it be, we'll grow up in weeds, it'll be.
I was going through my mail here, saw a thank you letter from La Crescent Food Shelf for the $1,000 that we distributed through the ARPA funding. So to thank you, and they say that currently we're averaging over 200 households a month, distributing 10,000 pounds of food each month. So they appreciate that. So thank you. And it's to put it in the file for 30, but thank you for that contribution. Anything else come up then? Anything else for the good of the cause? Any public comment? Doesn't appear to be. Entertain a motion to adjourn. So move. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah. There's no discussion, all in favor, say yes. Thank you.